Welcome to CareerCircle's webinar on career mapping in the digital age. We are currently recording this webinar to ensure accessibility for all participants. You can also enable closed captioning through your browser. We encourage all participants to use Google Chrome, where you can click on the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, click on the settings, and then accessibility. So a little bit of introductions for me. My name is Jessica. My pronouns are she, her, and I currently work at CareerCircle as a marketing project coordinator. I have brown hair and brown eyes. I'm wearing a black tank top with a pink cardigan, and I'm currently sitting in my office. So I would like to pass it off to my awesome panelists who have some really great insight into this topic of career mapping. So let's kick it off. So I'm going to pass it over to Ashley first.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. Hey, everybody. My name is Ashley Stevenson, and I am a customer success manager here at CareerCircle. My pronouns are she and her. I'm an African American woman with brown and blonde curly hair, and I have hazel eyes. I'm presently sitting in my office today wearing a black top that I hope slims me out on camera. So hopefully it's doing its job, but that is enough about me. I will go ahead and pass it on to one of my peers, Ethan.
Thanks, everybody. Hi, my name is Ethan. I am the digital recruiting manager here at CareerCircle. My pronouns are he and him. Today, I am sitting out of my living room / office. I am a Caucasian male in my early 30s with short brown hair and some nice round glasses on my eyes and a nice little mustache sitting under those glasses. I'm wearing a teal CareerCircle t-shirt today, standing strong and repping for my company. And I'll pass it over to Miley.
Awesome. Thanks, Ethan. Hi, everyone. My name is Miley Martinez. My pronouns are she and her. I currently work at CareerCircle as the lead career coaching advisor. I have brown curly hair, dark brown eyes. I'm currently wearing a black dress, and I'm sitting in my office.
Awesome. So thank you, Ethan, Ashley, and Miley. Now it's time to dive into our content. Let's start with the basics of what is career mapping. And I saw that we already had a couple people put it in the chat. If you haven't had a chance yet, make sure to download our career mapping worksheet. You can locate this by going in the content tab underneath the discussion tab. After opening the document, make sure to download it to your computer so that way you can edit it and add your own career plans. I'll have Miley kick us off.
All right, everybody, let's get this party started. Quick suggestion, I would suggest we're going to be going over a lot of things. So I suggest opening either a Google Doc or grabbing a piece of paper or even your notes app on your phone, just to take notes over the things Ethan, Ashley, and myself go over before we get to that career mapping dive. I think it's going to be an easier and smoother transition if we start to take these notes early on. If you know what a career map is and you've done one before, please put that in the chat. If you haven't done one, you can let us know in the chat also. If you've done a different kind of mapping, like a mind map, also put that in the chat for us. If you haven't done a career map before, it helps identify your career goals, and it helps determine how to leverage the skills you've gained from upskilling in your job search. Awesome. Okay. All right, so how to create a career map, right? Again, on our piece of paper, our Google Doc, we're going to talk about these things. So we're going to talk about self-assessment, the ideal career, and then we're going to start mapping, right? So firstly, and most important, is you want to self-assess. So you want to write down your skills, your qualifications, any volunteer experience you have. If you volunteer at church, if you volunteered at school, you want to write that down. Any certifications you obtain, if you obtain a Google certificate, Google Project Management, PMP, IT support, CompTI+, you want to write that down, including your education. Then we want to talk about the ideal career, right? So you want to ask yourself, what is your ideal career? What industry do you want to specialize in? Once we have that, we also want to do some research. So you want to go on Google and look up those ideal careers, right? Sometimes the jobs get removed. So I would suggest taking a screenshot of like the skills section and seeing what skills it is that you would need to try to obtain that role. And then we want to start mapping. So we want to set goals, and we want to break down the final goals by short-term goals. So right now, everyone in the chat, put in one goal that you have short term. So whether it's getting outside your comfort zone and actually going to that network event you keep getting emails about, but you haven't gone to, whether it's finally updating your resume or making another resume for a different role that you're looking for. And then we want to think about what resources are needed to achieve these goals, right? So do you need to upskill and gain a certificate? Do you need a network more? So what skills do you think you need to achieve these goals? And then, of course, you want to give yourself a deadline. You want to make sure that it is an achievable deadline, that is not too far, it's not too close, you're not stressing yourself about it. So something that you want to make sure you give yourself a good, easy deadline to get to that goal, okay? Then we're going to talk about how to create a career map. So you want to ask yourself, how comfortable are you in the ability to execute your hard skills and your soft skills, right? What are your core expertise? On that Google Doc or the sheet, whichever you chose, make sure you write down on the corner there, what is your core expertise? What do you feel? Like, are you organized? Do you love doing projects? You know, are you good at doing projects? Are you good at coordinating those events? You want to make sure to write that down. And then you want to talk about, you want to think about, what are you interested in using your knowledge and skills? And, or are you looking to do a complete pivot? You know, are you looking to go right into tech? And then you want to also think about, what image are you putting out? So what does your resume look like? You know, when you go to networking events and you go to interviews, what is that external image you're putting out? Are you putting your best foot forward? So these are just a reflection questions that you really want to think about and see like what you need to change, you know, in order for this new career path. I'm going to hand it over to Ethan. He's going to talk a little bit more about skills.
Thanks, Miley. So what we have on the screen here is kind of an activity for you to visualize identifying your skills individually. So what helps here is kind of finding some skills online and just kind of putting them all on a short list, getting them in front of you, and then kind of putting a check mark or an X next to each skill that you believe you possess. It can be any amount of hard skills. So what happens a lot with this is you might want to take some time to Google, like if you're taking a project management certification, for example, take some time to Google skills related to project management and then just kind of list them out here. This will help you to, one, visualize the skills that you believe that you have, and then two, get comfortable articulating it. If we move to the next slide here, you can see I've got several skills that we have identified as things that I'm comfortable saying that I definitely have, that I possess, and it's something that I am able to articulate well in the workforce. So just a couple here as highlights: adaptability, creativity, critical thinking, leadership, organization, and then several more on the right column there. These are all skills that I feel I would be able to actively speak to. So if we move to the next slide here, we can actually talk through some examples of how I would speak through that. So what happens as a next step from here, you can take some time to actually highlight the ones that you feel really, really good about speaking about. So I encourage all of you to take some time practicing like articulation. So in the event that I would say like, I'm very adaptable, this is something I'm comfortable speaking on, practice the actual process of articulating your adaptable skills. So I have adaptability highlighted as one of these. I would say, I, as a recruiter, as a recruiting manager, I'm very adaptable. I'm able to move from one project to the other with relative ease, and I'm able to go ahead and prioritize the needs as they come in, as opposed to being very rigid and being stuck on one workflow. So if something else urgent comes up, I'm able to direct my focus to that and then hop right back to what I was working on as needed. Simultaneously, leadership is another one that I have highlighted here. So that's one where I can take some time to describe the team that I'm leading, the people that I've worked with, and helped to lead to successful outcomes over time. Just as a couple examples here, we do have some soft skill and hard skill ones here. As an example of one that you would list on a resume, you may not verbalize it like this because it doesn't necessarily, like, verbalizing comes more to your natural cadence of speech. But when you're writing it out on a resume, you can verbalize it as like implemented a digital filing system, leading to quicker document retrieval and increased workflow efficiency. And then our hard skill example would be like developing a content strategy, implementing A/B testing for headlines and CTAs, resulting in a 20% higher conversion rate. You'll notice with the hard skill, we noted a key piece of terminology that's very relevant for that profession. In this case, it would be like project management. And then we also quantified the work that we did. So that 20% higher conversion rate, that goes a long way towards really demonstrating your ability to impact an organization's goals with the work that you do. And with that, I believe I'm passing it over to Ashley here.
That's correct. Thank you. So now that Mylan's covered how to create your own career map and Ethan's talked about identifying your skills, the next step is to apply what you learned, right? And so for you, this is going to take a reflective work where you're going to have to really, really start honing down on what you like. So when you're building that career map, you have to ask yourself this: am I trying to make a career change? Or am I trying to progress in my current industry? And to be able to answer that question, the biggest thing to consider, in my personal opinion, is what do you love to do? You know, as adults, we have to wake up every day and go to work. So it's important to choose something you love and or really, really like a lot. So do me a favor, type a 1 in the chat if you know what you love to do, or type a 2 if you're still figuring it out. And there are no wrong answers here, so please don't be shy. After all, we cannot see your face, your beautiful faces, so consider this a safe space. Okay. So if you are answering a 1, oh yes, I see all these comments coming in. I love it. I love it. So if you answered a 1, good job. Good job. You know what you love to do. But if you answered 2, it's okay, right? We're going to get there. I'm going to show you. So for all the 2s that's still trying to figure it out, maybe because you're a jack of all trades. There's a lot of us out there, right? Another way to do this is to ask yourself, what did I like most about my previous jobs? Or what did I like the least? Both questions will help you narrow down your choices by doing the process of elimination. But all in all, you guys, when you're reflecting on your knowledge and experience, please be honest with yourself so that you're not creating a career map doing something you'd eventually dread or you would have to completely toss out. So once you identify the roles you want to move into, it's time to get strategic and ask yourself, how am I going to get there? And my suggestion is you start with yourself and build your personal brand. Your personal brand is the way that you show up. It's the knowledge and skills you bring. It's the way you communicate. It's your personality, y'all, because believe it or not, your personality matters. So let it shine. Then you'll want to move into, who do I need to connect with to get my foot in the door? Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, it's all about who you know. So make sure you're positioning yourself to prosper by networking with people that are doing what you want to do or have done what you want to do. Therefore, don't be afraid to reach out and advocate for yourself, because nobody is going to want it more than you. So take those risks. Even if you're afraid or nervous, always bet on yourself.
And I do have something to add there as well. Just as far as really letting your personality show when you're beginning the interviewing process, that is probably the most important part of making sure that you make an impression on somebody. It's very easy to have great experience in the long term and articulate that experience well, but if you're not letting your personality show in a meaningful way, it all becomes like noise to a hiring manager or to a recruiter, because at the end of the day, you have to understand these people are in communications with dozens of people at any given time, right? So they talk to a lot of people all day, every day. Really, really important to make sure that you are trying to make an impression by being your authentic self and letting your personality show through in an interview.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thank you, Ethan. And thank you, Ashley. I want to take a really quick pause to answer some questions before we move on to this activity. Questions that we don't get to now, we will answer towards the end during a formal Q&A. So please feel free to put some questions in the chat now so we can address them, but I do see a couple right now. So the first one, can you give an example of how to let my personality shine through? Maybe if my resume isn't getting through the door right now. So, maybe if I'm not getting that first interview or if someone isn't reaching back, how can I do that online or, in my network presence? What's a good way to do that? Ethan, Miley, Ashley?
Yeah, great question. Oftentimes, it is much harder to have your personality show through just from your resume, because you want your resume to be standardized to an extent. That's kind of the key to getting through applicant tracking systems. That's kind of the key to basically getting it to where a person actually gets to lay eyes on it to get you up to that point. Where you can let your personality show a little bit more is by having an active presence on a website like LinkedIn, or updating your job seeking profiles with some volunteer or passion projects that you've been working on. um, Taking some time to really articulate how you feel about the state of the job market, being engaged on socials, that can go a long way um, towards networking well, especially in the digital media space. Aside from that, once you are, because I saw a follow up there of kind of your personality shining through, that's appropriate. You do want to be cognizant. It's just like any other social engagement, right? So if you wouldn't say something because you are, you feel that might step on somebody's toes, I would encourage you to try to shy away from that. Good examples of this is like politics, religion, etc. You probably don't want to bring that up in a professional interviewing context. However, that said, it's really good to try to, when you have the ability to connect with somebody, whether it's via small talk or you find out that a person, your interviewer, has a family, has a pet, take some time to try to connect with them over that, because again, those connections are what make you stand out in the job seeking process.
Awesome, thank you. And let's do maybe one or two more. Um, I feel like I really resonate with this one sometimes. So someone said, I feel like I'm showing too much of my personality. So, you know, we were talking a little bit about, an example of shining your personality in a way that's appropriate. How do you make sure that you are still being your authentic self, um, but also, you know, doing it in a way that's appropriate, and, not showing too much, but you're still being authentic?
I think the best way that you can proceed with that generally is seeking feedback. So it's all about interview preparation a lot of times. So getting comfortable, speaking just to other people generally. You can lean on your peers, your family, anything for this kind of stuff. Take some time to kind of do a mock interview, especially if you're working with a recruiter or something like that. You can ask them to take some time to do a mock interview with you. But if it's not like a professional context and you're comfortable leaning on your personal network for that, definitely do that as well. Seek feedback on how you're presenting yourself, if it's coming across the wrong way. I think usually that's the kind of thing where it has to be coachable in the moment, as opposed to it's harder for me to give you a broader sweeping path for that. So biggest thing is make sure that you are seeking feedback prior to your interview. That way you know how you're presenting yourself in that context.
I just want to agree with Ethan. Yeah, I would say for sure, if you can find a friend, a close friend that will actually give you feedback, and you guys can practice the interview questions, and generally take their feedback and try to understand what they're saying. If they're telling you you're talking too fast, if they're telling you you're doing too much, or you keep interrupting, you want to make sure to take that feedback, and apply that whenever you're interviewing. I think that's something that's super helpful, and it's so important to have a good colleague or a friend that is going to be able to provide that feedback for you.
And then lastly, I will also say it's just being self-aware, right? And being able to read the room. I think we know our personalities where we know, okay, I probably have to scale back and still let it shine, but be professional. So just make sure that you are reading the room, or when you're doing your research on LinkedIn, before you reach out to someone, you're kind of looking through their page. I think you can get a feel for people's personalities once you're doing that. So definitely make sure that you are looking through the person's page before you reach out, kind of get what their vibes are, and make sure that you are still being your authentic self, but that you are not, be doing anything that's not going to be professional and paint you in a bad light.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Really, really good insight there. So we will get to all of the rest of those questions at that formal Q&A later. But now that we've gone over those steps of creating a career map, let's go through and make one together in real time. So we will be walking through the career mapping worksheet that I talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So make sure to go into that content tab that I talked about, and you can locate that either below or next to that discussion tab. Download it to your computer if you haven't already so you can edit that. Miley, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. Okay, so going back to what we talked about earlier, having that piece of paper, we wrote down all of our ideas, we wrote down our skills, our core skills. Now we're going to apply it to the worksheet. So if you have the worksheet up and you're ready, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat for me. Awesome. All right. So first corner of the worksheet is your transferable skills, right? So we want to list I know you only have like a few slots. So we want to list the most important, and I would say the strongest transferable skill you have. Are you adaptable? That's something that you want to think and you want to ask yourself. In roles previous, have you been able to quickly switch over, to work on a different project? So if you are adaptable, you want to put that as your transferable skill. Are you organized? Have you worked in a situation or been in a situation where maybe the file room was a mess, right? And you had to reorganize everything, categorize everything. Is that something that you genuinely enjoy? That's a transferable skill. So you want to go ahead and you want to list that. Risk management. Has there been a times where you had to manage, you had to manage your risk? Think about it. Like, has there been a time where you've done that? Is that something you like to do? Maybe that's not your strongest transferable skill. Maybe you have to look at a different idea for that. Do you like data? I meet people who like data all the time, like Ethan. He's a data guy. I'm not. So if you do like to analyze data, you like numbers, that is a strong skill for you. Go ahead and put that down in the transferable skill. These are just examples. You don't have to use these. If you have other ones, if administration, creating documents, creating processes, that's a skill. You can always list that too. Leadership. Leadership not only in work, you can have leadership skills outside of work too, right? So have you been a leader? Have you led a project, and a volunteer project? Have you been able to volunteer before and you were the lead? You made sure everything went through. All these skills are transferable to these relatable careers here, right? I'm going to slow down so you guys have some time. But something to think about, what skill, and you don't have to fill it in right now. It might take some time and some Google search. Maybe you got to ask ChatGPT, right? Hey, what transfer skills do I have that will translate to a career, right? So all these skills do transfer over to a financial analyst, right? A financial analyst needs to know how to analyze data, right? They need to be organized, right? They need to know how to organize the finance. They need to be adaptable, right? Same thing with a marketing analyst. Trends change every day, all day, every hour. They need to be adaptable. They need to know how to read the data, because if one trend is not working or something's not working, they need to be able to change that. And that's risk management right there too, right? Project coordinator. A project coordinator is also a leader. They have to lead the project through. So these are all skills that are relatable to these careers. So think about, what skills do you have? Are they relatable to your career that you're thinking about? What skills are you missing? I would probably also make a little side note there. For these careers, what skill is specific that you might be missing? You want to ask yourself, I would make a T-chart on that blank paper or that Google Doc. I'm sorry, I have all the advice today. What are your hard skills and what are your soft skills? Something to think about. And then think about, what other careers can I consider with the skills you currently have, right? Because maybe you don't have to go and pivot and get a whole new skill or certificate or anything like that. So these are just something to think about. Ethan is going to do the rest of the worksheet with you. So I'm going to hand it over to him.
Perfect. So for the next part of the worksheet, we're talking a little bit more about the industry alignment that you would like to pursue. So when we say industries, a lot of the times there's always some sense of what companies that you would like to work for when you either complete upskilling or you're evaluating your career path, right? rather than thinking strictly of the company that you would like to work for, what we encourage is thinking of what industry that company occupies. So if we were to look at like a Meta or a Google, something like that, that's kind of like your big tech industries, right? So that it's kind of like taking these employers and putting them in a bucket. That way you can start to attack adjacent companies to the one that you might initially have an interest in. So here we have a few of them listed. We have manufacturing and construction, finance, and marketing. Again, you can pursue any industries that are most relevant for the career path that you are pursuing. However, like just for the purposes of this activity here, we will actually go down the branch with the marketing industry. So when we look at the marketing industry, this is where you'll really want to heavily leverage like digital resources, Google search, any AI based tools, anything like that, just to kind of ask the questions of like what positions are available in this industry, right? So for marketing, we have our level 1 position, which is going to be kind of like your 0 to 2 years of experience as a marketing analyst. Your level 2, that'll be kind of like your 2 to 4 would be a senior marketing analyst. Your level 3, that's kind of like your 4 to 6, a marketing analyst manager. And then level 4 is kind of like that's your 7 years plus, right? So you're well tenured in your career. You've kind of gone above and beyond. You've stayed in it for a long time and really proven your merit. That's like your director of marketing analytics, right? So when we're doing the mapping activity, we're actually trying to draw out the trajectory of what you want to pursue in the long term as well. So your level 1 is kind of like, depending on your level of proficiency and where you're at currently in your career, the level 1 is like what you're usually starting off at. And then from there, you kind of have a sense for what to tackle or what to kind of keep your eyes out for as you gain more experience throughout your career. So it's kind of like the idea is for this to be a little bit of an evergreen resource, right? Something that you can always refer back to in the event that you start to spin wheels a little bit with your current career path. Couple key things to ask yourself while you are putting these together. When you're keeping these industries in mind, what are some key steps that you need to take in order to land your dream job? So when we're thinking about like steps that you need to take, you want to take the time to really consider if you are ready for that next step in your career. So let's say you're like at that 0 to 2 years of experience mark and you're currently in like a marketing analyst role. Do you have the skills that you need to step up to that senior level position? That might require management, that might require a little bit more leaderships, a little bit more like general vision of where you would like a department to go. Are you ready to kind of accept that kind of responsibility, or have you had any kind of proficiency with that in the past? If you haven't, how can you get that kind of skills, right? So that kind of leads really well into the next thing. If there are any skills or experience that you're missing, it's a good time to evaluate that as well. So we want to take the time to make sure, again, that you're very ready for that next step in your career, and that you're fully prepared to step into the role. And then lastly, you might get midway through a career path and realize that it doesn't really resonate with you. This happens to plenty of people. Don't feel like you're on an island when it does happen, right? It's very normal for you to kind of switch careers mid-path. In the event that you're not feeling satisfaction, let's say you got to that level 2 position and you're not feeling great about your senior marketing role, is it kind of time to consider pivoting? You might now be considering just more data-oriented positions because you've had a lot of experience working with data. You really enjoy that aspect of your job, and now it's kind of what you're more passionate about, and there might be a different industry that aligns better with that. So take the time when you are creating this to reevaluate, is this something that I actually want to pursue? Because ultimately, the goal is to make it so that you are passionate about your work, you're pursuing the things that you would like to. I know now that we've had a little bit of time and we've kind of gone through the activity a little bit, feel free to drop in the chat. What are some key industries that you're targeting? Would love to hear from y'all. See tech, data analytics. So yeah, these are good examples, right? Less so skill set focused, right? You're not thinking necessarily of the skill of data analytics or cybersecurity. What we want to think of is where we can put that kind of skill set to work. So in cybersecurity is a good example. There are a ton of hospital networks that are doing IT infrastructure upgrades in the upcoming years, right? As part of that, they need to make sure that their security standards are up to par. They are getting evaluated consistently, all that good stuff. So you might see that and identify yourself with the healthcare industry. Like the activity here is more so about making sure that you have a few industries that you can seek out companies in the long term. Healthcare, finance, and tech. That's a great one. Great 3. Cool. So some great examples here in the chat. Great work, everybody. Hopefully that helped to clarify some of the misconceptions between industry and skill set. But I will say we also will have time at the end of this as well. If you do have questions, feel free to hold on to those and we'll get to them towards the end of the presentation here. And so now I will go ahead and pass it over to Ashley to talk about some resources.
Absolutely. So, as we come to a close, the thing I want most for everyone that joined today is to take control of your own career by utilizing every resource available to you. Just really quick testimony. I literally am only here at Career Circle because I took advantage of the resource, right? I had completed my Google Project Management certificate and received an email saying to connect one-on-one with the recruiter. Initially, I was a little hesitant because I was already overwhelmed by the amount of work I had to complete. So I almost was like, I'm done. I don't want to do anything else. But I definitely took advantage of that opportunity and connected one-on-one with Daniel. Shout out to Daniel. He's still here and is an amazing recruiter. But I was able to connect one-on-one with him, and I shared my background, I shared my experience, and this kind of told him what I was looking to get into. And he was able to say, hey, I'm actually working on a position here at Career Circle. Would you be interested? And obviously I said yes, right? And was able to get the interview. And I've been here, over a year now, but I wouldn't be here had I not taken advantage of that resource. So please make sure that you are doing the same. We have a career mapping guide. We actually offer resume assistance. We have personality tests, and we have certificate resource information all readily available on our website. So use them, you guys. Lastly, and this is a big one for me, once you've done all that you can do that's within your control, because it doesn't make any sense, right, to stress over anything that's beyond your control. Please stay positive because your mindset is everything. The journey to reach your goals may not happen the way you want it to, so please remain flexible. This may mean taking a lower position or pay than you initially thought or wanted. We've all been there, including myself. It may mean it takes you longer to get there. It may mean taking on side projects for free just to say that you have that hands-on experience. Or it may mean hearing a lot of no's before you hear the right yes. Just remember there are steps and levels to everything, guys, and everything will work out in due time as long as you're patient and you're doing your part. Cool?
Awesome. I just got to say that was really cool, Ashley. Thank you. I I saw a couple of people saying that was a cool testimonial. So thank you for sharing. I think it's a really awesome way to show too how transferable skills can make such an impact as well. Um, I used to be a member experience advisor, and that's how I knew about Ashley because she was one of my colleagues' members actually, and she got a project management cert, right? And so that could be any of you all who get that project management cert or get that, digital marketing cert. You all can work in a company like Career Circle, right? And, get that cert and make your way on up. And so it's right there in the horizon. I love seeing people say, I'm just working for brighter days. You're right there. It's in the future. So really, really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that. So make sure that you go to that content tab, use all of those resources. They're there for you, and they're there for you to get your job. So with that being said, um, I'm going to do some Q&A, and then I'm going to do some flipping around with slides because I want Miley to share something really cool that we have for you as well. So we're going to do some Q&A, but make sure that you don't hop off until the very end because Miley has something awesome to share for you. When we do the one-on-one career coaching, are we only allowed one meeting? So Miley, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the need. So if there's an interview coming up, or if you have any more additional questions, or if you're getting stuck, we are happy to talk again with you and try to help address whatever need is needed.
Awesome. If they need to speak with you again, would the best plan of action to be for them to reach back out to you?
The best way would be email. Just because we're usually booked out like 3 weeks away.
Awesome.
So the best way would be email for them to reach out. We're happy to, try to fit time in our schedule between calls if we need to. It just really depends on what's needed, and each career coach will gauge that between whether it's, they're looking for resume updates or they need some interview prep. We're happy to hop back on a call with them.
Awesome. No, that's super cool. Okay. I see another one. Let's see. Oh, we got a couple here. Um, do you recommend working with an industry-specific career coach to help you prepare? So, I think that's a good question. Ethan, I see you're off mute, so go for it.
Yes, if you have access to the resource, absolutely feel free to leverage that. However, our career coaching sessions are a bit more generalized. We are equipped to handle basically all of these certifications that we support, obviously. So, in the event that you have pursued upskilling, that is kind of within the greater book of the certs that CareerCircle offers, we are absolutely able to. However, if you do get connected to another career coach that is also specialized in a specific industry, do also very much encourage you to leverage that. It's very much a game of like, you don't want to limit yourself to one or the other, right? So use, to Ashley's point earlier, it's very important to leverage all of your available resources while you are job searching. Take the time to consider the people that you have connected with, the people that you have yet to connect with, and determine how you best would like to leverage them, essentially.
Awesome. Cool. Let's see. Do you think getting multiple Google certificates is beneficial? I could see how this could be a really great question, especially when you're thinking about career mapping. So this person in particular has a digital marketing and e-commerce certificate, but they haven't necessarily had the best luck with interviews. So they're considering the project management cert, especially as Ashley in that last slide, you were talking about having to pivot, especially sometimes pivot your expectations or maybe the career that you were thinking of getting into. And maybe, getting a new cert would kind of reflect that. So, Ashley, do you want to jump in on that and talk about maybe getting multiple certs, or what's your opinion on that?
I don't think getting multiple certs is a problem. I think really what you want to narrow down is it goes back to the step of what do you love to do. So if you're going to get multiple certs, if it aligns with the career mapping and the progression of your journey, absolutely, right? But if you're just trying to get multiple certs because you're still trying to figure it out, you may feel like that is going to end up being a waste of your time. So it really just, again, goes back down to the step of finalizing what it is that you love to do and or really, really like to do.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit on there as well. It is very, very beneficial in some cases to look at continued upskilling. So let's say you are in the IT space and you have got an entry level certification. It is very beneficial in a lot of cases, especially if you're looking to specialize. Cybersecurity is a great example. If you're looking to specialize, look at things that are relevant for that specialization. In this particular use case, digital marketing plus project management, those two go hand in hand in a lot of ways, and it can qualify you for positions that uniquely that you might not have qualified for previously. So it is usually worth it. I will also say there's also, depending on what your goal is with the certification, not everyone is necessarily getting the cert with the idea of, I got this, I'm getting a job in this, right? So there's joy in learning for the sake of learning. Oftentimes you'll be able to apply something from the certification, namely a more general project management one. Then you would be able, you can pull more things from that to apply to basically any career path that you would walk than other certifications. So be considerate of that as well when you're looking at that.
Awesome. And to kind of go off of that, Ethan, when you were talking about upskilling further and being aware of, what path you want to take, I have alluded to that content tab a couple times. If you all want to click on that certificate resource page, go ahead and click on it. It might be specific to your certificate, it might not. But for example, if you took the Google Project Management cert, that means that you have certain discounts for the PMP, the CAP Scrum Master, right? If you took the cybersecurity cert, that means that you have discounts for, I believe it's CompTIA Cybersecurity Plus, right? And so there are certain discounts that you get from Google that could really help you with that career mapping and that, that strategy that you're using. I do have a couple in there for Salesforce if you've already gotten your cert, or if you're also kind of thinking about where you want to go with that. So take a peek at that page. That can kind of help you think about, your career map and your pathing there as well. You're right. So I do see there's no discounts for a couple of them. That's just what I have on that sheet is what Google provides at the moment. However, there may be some others that just are not affiliated with Google that you might be able to get elsewhere. So definitely recommend you take a peek. And if you find any, feel free to let me know, and I'm more than happy to add it to that sheet.
There are also elements for career specifically. I saw the question was in reference to UX design. Oftentimes, what is very helpful, there's a lot of different practitioners of UX upskilling. And so, with that, it's kind of a very wide network. And so, oftentimes, when you're considering additional upskilling in the UX space, you want to think of specifically about what's aspect you're trying to do. So is it going to be more design oriented, more research oriented? Try to think, drill down a little bit on what you're trying to focus on. And what I really, really encourage is to be actively practicing like passion projects, putting the things together for a portfolio. To Ashley's point again earlier, it's very important to be practicing the skill set and demonstrating that you have the ability to utilize that, regardless of if it's being applied directly to a professional role in your current context.
Awesome. Really, really cool. All right, I'm going to ask about 2 more questions, and then I'm going to kick it off to Miley to, give some news. But let's see. I see one that I think Ethan addressed in the chat, but I'd also like to give it some space here as well. Would it be important to present projects rather than just stating skills and experience in my resume? So I know that maybe in June, we did do a resume webinar. So I do recommend that all of you watch that on our events site on CareerCircle. However, I do see how this kind of goes with the career mapping as well when you're thinking about how you can kind of watch your brand and your image, right? So Ethan, what do you think about that?
I lagged a little bit. Can you repeat the question for me one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. So would it be important to present projects rather than just stating your skills and experience in your resume?
100%. And the biggest reason for that is because you want to take it resonates better with an employer if they hear how you leverage the skill versus you saying that you possess the skill. So it's one thing for me to say, I'm really good at leveraging Google Sheets to create, various data-oriented dashboards. It's another thing entirely for me to say, I created customized queries to pull relevant information into a main dashboard that then improved the operational efficiency of our company by 15%, right? So you can see these two statements. One is saying that I have a skill. The other is saying I have used this skill and it benefited an organization in X way.
Awesome. And so with that being said, using a portfolio and I maybe even linking that portfolio website in the resume, that would be important when demonstrating that skill.
Generally. Well, and so you have to be careful with links on resumes, because if you just paste a straight up link, oftentimes an ATS will kick it out, applicant tracking system. What you want to do instead is use whatever Word format or word processor software you're using, whether it's Google Docs, Microsoft Word, what have you, and hyperlink it. So use the text and then just embed the link into the text. That way it doesn't pop up on an ATS and automatically kick your resume out. But yes, I do. Whenever you are putting your experience on your resume, it is very important to create a portfolio and maintain it.
Awesome. Perfect. Really, really cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to kick it over to Miley. If we have a couple more questions come into the chat, I'll come back here so we can address them. But I want to make sure that Miley can get to where she needs to go with this awesome resource.
Awesome, guys. So if you stayed around all the way to the end now, we do suggest booking some time with one of our coaches. So if one of your goals earlier was to update your resume or network and get out of your comfort zone, take some time to book a one-on-one with a career coach. There is 2 links. I think Jess is going to go ahead and put them in the chat. One of them is if you have fully completed a Google certificate. And then the other one is if you haven't completed a certificate. If you haven't, it's okay. It's just for tracking purposes. But we do want to make sure that your profile is completed. Make sure you have your most updated resume on there so like that we can help revamp that for you. And we can talk about everything that you would like to discuss.
Awesome. Really cool. Alrighty, so yes, we will be getting that in the chat very shortly. And yeah, just make sure that, as Miley said, if you are a Google Career Certificate holder, that you click on that Google link. And if you are not, that you click on the non-Google Certificate holder link. Alrighty, so last thing here, we do have one really, really awesome webinar that is next month. So I know that a lot of you come from, maybe you're in the middle of a career break, maybe you are coming out of one. Our webinar next month is talking all about that. It's From Pause to Progress, Thriving After a Career Break. It is Thursday, September 19th from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register for that at careercircle.com/events. I would love to see you all there. I think it would be great. We're going to have some really awesome conversation and some really great panelists that have experienced career breaks, and they can give some awesome insight into what to do while you're in the middle of that, right? So how can we thrive while we're within the middle of a career break? So definitely recommend that you join. Awesome. And I see that Ethan and Kindle have put those links, so thank you so much for that. Super. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for joining. This has been so awesome. We've had some really great conversations here. And I hope that I see you all next time. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.